Okay, so before I get into Perek Beis and Tanya, I like to do a little summary of Perek Aleph. So we learned that the Torah is very close to us, and that is because we don't feel that because we're in tune mainly with our animal soul, but we actually also have a godly soul. So the more we get in tune with our godly soul, the more we feel how the Torah is close to us. So we need to learn about the animal soul and the godly soul so we can know what's godly soul and what's animal soul. So therefore the Tanya first teaches us about the animal soul. So first it tells us that the animal soul that we have is from Klipas Noiga, it's called, which is a mixture of good and evil. So it's mostly evil, but it has some good. But even the good that it has in it, the kindness and the compassion, Hashem is not in the picture. You just do good because you want to be kind, because you want to be good. But not because Hashem commanded you to, not because you're connecting to Hashem, not because you're doing the will of Hashem. None of that is in Klipas Noiga, in the good in the animal soul. And then we also have the good that comes from what's called Nafshat Umas Ovde Gilulim, from the evil Goyim. Right? Not calling all Goyim evil, but there are evil Goyim, they have this type of soul. And they do what they do in order to hit Yaher. I don't think there's an English word for that. It means, I found a more exact definition for that. It's when you do something that goes against the will of Hashem. For instance, if you learn Torah because you want to become a Talmid Chacham, not because Hashem wants you to become a Talmid Chacham, but because you want to become a Talmid Chacham, so that does align with the will of Hashem. Hashem ultimately does want you to become a Talmid Chacham. The fact that you're not doing it for Hashem, that puts it in the category of Klipas Noiga, of our animal soul that we learned about before. But if you're going to learn Torah to use as a weapon to attack someone, that's already does not align up with the will of Hashem. That is called lehit yaher. I don't think an English word exists for that. It's a Torah idea, a Gemara concept, and so those things we need to refrain from. That is in a minute or 2 minutes of a summary of Perek Aleph. Now moving on, before I get into Perek Beis, I'd like to share a story. There was once a boy, a Goyish boy, he died, and there happened to be a Jewish boy nearby. So a guy over there decided to, blood libels. He said this Jewish boy, he wanted to make mazas, so he killed the Goyish boy and to get his blood, and that's why the boy died over here. It was unexpected. It was not at a time when there were any more blood libels, but that's what happened. They took him to court, and the whole court case was filled up with the whole Jewish community on the boys' side, the Jewish boys' side, and the Goyish boys' side. It was just family members, maybe some close friends. Very few people came on behalf of the Goyish boy who was murdered, who died, or whatever it was. Now the lawyer for the boy who died was very wise. He was an evil Russia. Probably learned Torah, lehit yaher, and he knew the secrets of the Torah and the revealed Torah, Kabbalah, Chassidus, Kabbalah. He knew a lot, and he said like this. He says, it says in the Torah, Adam ki yakriv mikem korban Hashem. It says we are called Adam. So the Zohar explains that we are called Adam, and the Goyim are not called Adam. So you see, he says this lawyer, he says, as far as the Jews are concerned, we're like animals. When we want to eat, we don't feel bad for the animal and say, oh, I'm not going to shecht him, I'm not going to slaughter him. I want to eat, right? I'll take him, I'll slaughter him, I'll eat him. That's how the Jews view us. We're like animals to them. They call themselves people. We're not people. They're Adam. We're not Adam. So they want to eat. They'll take a Goyish, they want their matzahs on Pesach. They'll take a Goyish person, they'll shecht him, slaughter him, and they'll take his blood and put it in the matzah. They don't have a problem with that. So the rabbi, who was there on the Jews' behalf, obviously, he said that is not the meaning of the Zohar. Let me tell you. Look in this courtroom. First he says, there are many words to describe people in the Torah. You have Ish, you have Enosh, you have Adam. There's other frames, there's other ways of referring to people in the Torah language. But it says Adam. Adam is the only one of them that you can only say in a singular manner. You can't say Adamim. It's not a word. It's only Adam. Ish, you could say Anoshim. Enosh, you could say Enoshim. But you can't say Adamim. The Zohar is telling us we are only called one unit, is the idea. We are all united. We are all one. It's not saying Goyim are like animals. But there's something special about Am Yisrael. Look at this courtroom. You have a child who died. How many people came on his behalf? Close family members, a few individuals, that's it. We have this one boy, he's part of our community. They got the whole community in here. We're filled, jam-packed with the whole community. All the Jews in the community came. Why? Because we are one, we are united. And that is what the Zohar is saying. And the judge let the case off, accepted what the rabbi said, and everything was good. Now this is important to understand what a neshama is like. This is the idea of a neshama. So firstly, it says that a neshama is literally a part of Hashem. Because it says in the Torah that Hashem blew a neshama into Adam HaRishon. It says, Vayipach be'apav, and he blew into his nostrils. It doesn't mean to blow like when you blow out. There's in Hebrew, you have neshifa and neficha. Neshifa is like blowing out regularly when you're breathing. It's like when you to breathe. Here it's a more hard blowing. It's coming from a more inner part of you. So the blowing out that's coming from a deeper part of you, that's where the neshama comes from. It comes from a deeper part of Hashem. So that's the first thing he says. Then he brings a mashal of a child that's born from a father. You see, the child comes from the seed of the father, which comes from his brain. So that's why we are called the children of Hashem, because we come from the wisdom of Hashem. Now, the wisdom of Hashem, it says in the Rambam, that the wisdom of Hashem and Hashem are one. So us coming from the wisdom of Hashem means that we come from Hashem himself. And in the Rambam, it says, Hu Amada, Hu Ayodea, in other words, just to keep things simple, we are literally one with Hashem. Our godly soul is literally a part of Hashem. So the question is, so why do we see different levels of neshamas? You have higher neshamas, lower neshamas. What's that about? So it's compared to a child. Again, we're going back to the child. So he has his brain that comes from the seed of the father, that comes from his brain. But then he also has his fingernails and his toenails that also come from the seed of the father's brain, that comes from the father's brain. The difference is that one was broken down a lot more, which is what created the fingernails, and one was broken down a lot less, which is what created the brain. But at their source, at their core, they come from the same brain of the father. And after the nails come into existence, they're still connected strongly to the father. Not to the son's brain, rather to the father is what I'm saying. This is what the Tanya is saying. Now, it doesn't say this in Tanya, but I think what it means is that it's the connection between the nails to the father is through the son's brain. In other words, when a person looks at his fingernails, he sees them as a part of him. And the way he feels connected to his father, he feels that his fingernails and toenails are also connected to his father. If you clip off a nail and throw it in the toilet, that nail is not going to feel connected to the father anymore. Like the nail's only connected through the connection of the body. So I think that's important to mention. So we have the first thing, the nails are connected to the father's brain. The second thing is that the vitality and the liveliness that the nails are receive comes from the son, the brain of the son. That's the second thing. So the nails are connected to the father, and they receive their vitality and their nurture from the son's brain. Now, the son's brain is the equivalent of the tzaddikim. We receive our vitality through the tzaddikim of the generation. And when we're connected to the tzaddikim, so then we're also connected to our fathers, to the chachma, to the supernal wisdom of Hashem. We're back to the source. Like lines up very nicely with how I explained before, that the nails are connected to the father by being connected to the brain of the son. So when we connect to tzaddikim, we're actually connecting to the supernal wisdom of Hashem. Now imagine, you're taking your godly soul and connecting it to its source. It's like bringing it back home. It's an amazing feeling. If you contemplate on that and you connect to the tzaddikim, you will feel more connected to your godly soul and more connected to Hashem. So that is the first step that we are taking in Tanya to connect to our neshama. Now this is why the reason why I said the story up front, how that ties into the godly soul that we just learned about, is because in the mashal, in the parable that the Tanya brings, the son's brain is the equivalent of the tzaddikim, and we are the equivalent of the nails. But wait a second, the nails and the brain are in one body. The tzaddikim and the nails are in separate bodies, but that's the way it is. We are one big unit, one big organism, spiritual organism, we're split up into different bodies, but really we are united, we are connected, and we are one. And later on we'll actually learn how we connect to all of our souls, all of our Yisrael. That's a very a strong way, very important, very essential in connecting to our neshama. We want to connect to your neshama. It's not just your neshama, it's all of our Yisrael's neshama. So B'ezrat Hashem, first step, we need to connect to tzaddikim. We need to know that they are our heads. And by connecting to them, we are connecting to Hashem. And with that, we will feel our connection to our godly soul, and we'll take the first step into feeling how the Torah is close to us. And B'ezrat Hashem, Mashiach will come techef u'miyad mamish.